We don't have to focus on changing the world or even making someone's whole day. It's just too big. That puts too much pressure on us. So if we just focus on this one moment, that is totally doable. And it can be as simple as telling someone hello, opening a door for someone, just giving someone a smile. When driving, let someone pull out in front of you. Why not? It's not going to slow us down that much, and sometimes not at all. So those little things can make a huge difference in someone's moment right then and there.
You are now listening to the highlight reel builder for authors, the Going North podcast. I'm your host, best-selling author and Maxwell Leadership Certified Trainer, Dom Brightman. And you're going to be getting some tips and techniques to advance yourself coming up next. Today's episode is sponsored by both books, Going North, Tips and Techniques to Advance Yourself, and the follow-up bestseller, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. Head over to Amazon.com, pick up both books. They are available in a trifecta of paperback, audio, and ebook. Cop all three of both and be on the lookout for another book from yours truly to help podcasters succeed. Now let's get on with today's episode. And today on the highlight reel builder for authors known as the Going North podcast, we got one heck of a super special, awesome human for you today, courtesy of one of the best websites on freaking earth, especially for podcast guests and podcast hosts. That's podmatch.com indeed, because today's guest in particular, this is going to be a host-to-host special edition episode, because today's guest, she's a fellow bookcaster, y'all, because not only has she written a book which qualifies her to be on the show, she's actually a prolific author. She's got a bunch of books out there. She also is a podcast host, and she's a seasoned vet, y'all. That's right, indeed. She's like Baltimore, Maryland's Old Bay seasoning, the best seasoning in the freaking world for crabs. It's like you love her all over. You got to have her on all your food, because she's been podcasting for, my God, I think 12 freaking years and counting. So she's a freaking expert at this. Like, she's been podcasting longer than folks have even thought about podcasting at all. So she has got a whole boatload of wisdom indeed. That's right, indeed. She's probably got 5 Titanic-sized boats of wisdom that don't crash at all, because the good news is she's always growing and getting better and not budding. You're probably wondering, who the heck is this lovely lady Dom is talking about? I'm talking about the kind and sensational Kelly Smith. How you doing today, Kelly?
I am great, Dom. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Oh, my pleasure. Days, pleasure having you on. Got to return the favor, as some would say.
It was awesome having you on my show. So I have really been looking forward to this. Love talking to fellow podcasters and fellow authors. It is just awesome.
Ah, yes, indeed. That's right, indeed. Especially when they got voices like yours, because I'm like, man, like, what kind of mic does this chick have? Because she sounds freaking extra sexy right now on this freaking microphone when I was listening to her show. And I'm like, man, she has a background as an artiste and a film director. So it's like she's ultra creative as well. So my goodness, as with all introductions, they only cover maybe, I don't know, maybe a foot. They don't cover the whole body. So my filling in the cavities I may have missed about you.
Sure. So I am the host of Podcast Launchpad, which helps women entrepreneurs use podcasting as a marketing tool to grow their business. I am a co-host of Geek Girl Soup, where we have been podcasting since 2011. I'm a podcast coach and consultant. Like you just mentioned, I'm a professional artist on the side, filmmaker, and film editor.
Ah, there you go. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. She's got the creativity covered like a blanket. Indeed. So my goodness, what helped you discover your love of art? Because I think you probably rarely get a chance to talk about this on podcasts these days.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I don't talk about it very much, certainly not on my podcast Launchpad, though I've mentioned it a few times. I have loved creating art since I was a kid. Like, I have been making art for as long as I can remember. In fact, when I was 7, I tried to sell my artwork at the end of our driveway, and my mom ran out. It was like, you can't do that. Way to squash my entrepreneurial spirit. So it was like
Mhm.
both art and entrepreneurship. And I got into being a professional artist in earnest in 1999. Had my first solo show in 2003. Yeah, well, that's been a while now. So a little bit of a late start, but not bad. So that's been 24 years now that I've been a professional artist. And I do mostly painting. I've done film, sculptural pieces, and that's it. I've been in group shows, did a collaboration with the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra and a local dance theater called Attack Theater. And that was awesome. That was one of my favorite pieces that I've done. I did film for that while they danced and the symphony played, and that was excellent.
Ah, me lucky indeed. Me lucky indeed. So doing all that wonderful artwork, you now, in a way, since that's part time, you got folks out there with giant canvases and looking to metaphorically paint them with the words via podcasting. So, what led you to discover podcasting as a whole? Indeed, especially to get an early start with it, because my goodness,
Yeah.
2011, like that's like really like OG level. That's like sage level. That's kind of like one of those black belt martial artists hiding in the mountain where you go in to seek their wisdom. Like, what led you to discover that and
Right.
actually be part of a podcast?
Right. So, two of my friends had started Geek Girl Soup as a blog, and then they recorded a few podcasts and invited me in after a few episodes to talk about video games. I am not a big gamer, but I had played a few games and was playing Skyrim at the time. I adore Skyrim. Oh, my Lord. And after that one episode, they're like, join us as a permanent co host. Like, yeah, that was so much fun. I had never even listened to a podcast before, just jumped right in and loved it. And toward the end of 2012, I did a live podcast on my own for my business at Blog Talk Radio, where it was having guests on, so women entrepreneurs, and we would talk about their business and tools and tips for other women entrepreneurs. That didn't last too long because honestly, I didn't have a great strategy for it. And a couple of times my guest didn't show up and they didn't tell me ahead of time. So I'm sitting there
Mm.
live in the Blog Talk Radio system. You can see how many audience members you've got there. I'm like, wow, my audience is here. It was every Tuesday at 2 Eastern. They were there and my guest wasn't. So I'm sitting there talking. I'm telling them, well, my guest isn't here. The first time I did not have a backup plan. So I'm just winging it. And the second time I did, like after that, I always had a backup plan. So the second time it happened, I did have something to talk about. So it turned into a solo episode. And then I just kind of burnt out since I didn't have a strategy. And so it was about 20 episodes. So I passed like the average 7 episode pod fade line. But yeah. And so then when I started later, when I started another business podcast, traditional podcast, I was ready and had a strategy and everything in place and systems and all of that. So it's much better. And it's kind of amazing that Geek Girl Soup has lasted this long and we are close to like 600 episodes, because we didn't go in with a strategy, but we've just figured it out over time and we're passionate about it because we have so much fun. That's really it. We meet every week, the three of us, and sometimes other people. We have guests on and all of that. And we just love it. It's a way to connect and get together.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's what I'm talking about indeed. Yeah, it is kind of interesting too, like the world of podcasting when you decide to bring on guest interview folks. It's like some folks don't show up with no reason at all. They just ghost on. Just like, dude, I thought this was a podcast, not a graveyard. What the heck happened?
Course. Yes. I have had that happen only twice since then. And it's very disappointing. And like they didn't get in touch with me. And so I had to reach out to them. And one of them said, I didn't have it on my calendar. Like, what? My system sends you automatic email reminders, just like yours does. And yours sends me texts as well, which is awesome. So I was constantly reminded, but I also had it on my calendar. And another one just said something came up and you couldn't tell me. And they even had an assistant. Your assistant couldn't tell me. So, oh well.
Oh wow, a double L for that one.
Yep. Yep. I'm sitting there all made up, got my notes ready, all of that. And I even send out notes ahead of time. It's like, and they never replied to them. So I should have not. And actually, I was a little bit concerned since they had never replied to the notes and the link and all of that. And so I was suspicious once I got there and was waiting. And yeah, oh well, it happens.
Oh yeah, that's right indeed. Just live and learn. Just
Yep.
live and learn indeed. And living and learning is something that you do a lot because you're also prolific in the writing space because you got so many books out there. You got your main wonderful books to help folks set up their podcast for success. And then you got some books from a past life too. Heck, even actually picked it up. Make someone's moment indeed. I
Yes.
actually bought it and read the book, and it's freaking
Oh,
amazing, full of nice
oh,
reminders.
thank you. I do love that one. Yes, that's under my old married name, and that one is pretty old at this point, but I do love it. Make someone's moment under the name Kelly Eckert. And that was so much fun to write. I never really considered myself a very positive person. Like, I mean, I'm very kind and friendly and love lifting other people up. And that's how that one came about. Like, I was out walking one day and I was just noticing that other people weren't really smiling. And that was kind of making my mood go down. And I smile at everyone when I'm out walking. And if I'm visiting New York City, I do still keep a pleasant look on my face, but it's not like I'm saying, hi, 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 hi. That's too much. But here in Pittsburgh, I'm out for a walk and I say hi to everyone I pass, like in the park, because why not? It helps boost your mood. And that's what gave me the idea to write that. So I came up with all those little stories that were from my life to show people how we don't have to focus on changing the world or even making someone's whole day. It's just too big. That puts too much pressure on us. So if we just focus on this one moment, that is totally doable. And it can be as simple as telling someone hello, opening a door for someone, just giving someone a smile. When driving, let someone pull out in front of you. Why not? It's not going to slow us down that much, and sometimes not at all. So those little things can make a huge difference in someone's moment right then and there.
Ah, yes, indeed. Good stuff, indeed. Because it's so powerful. Because I've like never heard that before. Because it makes so much sense. It's like, hey, there are so many hours and minutes in a day, and it's like some people you ain't gonna ever see again. It's like, hey, make their
Yeah,
whole day. Like,
exactly. Exactly. And that moment does spill over into the rest of your day. Like, what if someone was having a bad day and that one little thing you did in that moment can turn things around for them? It's just amazing because I've had that happen to me. I may have been having a bad day and someone holds the door because so many people don't hold the door open. They're just focused on themselves. They walk through and it's like, oh, it's whatever. You forgive and you move on. But when someone pauses to hold the door open for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I take that extra moment to thank them for their kindness. And that's something I teach with podcasting as well. So many podcasters are focusing on, quote, changing the world. And it's too big. Like you can have that sort of in the back of your mind or as a mission of the podcast. But I really want hosts to focus on one thing that episode can change for the listener in that moment. One big takeaway, just this moment, small things, because that's what the listener's looking for. What can I get out of this episode right now, immediately? The listener doesn't care how this is going to help them in 20 years or even in 2 weeks. They want something they can get out of it right now. If it's an informational podcast or a business podcast, they want something they can do immediately as soon as that episode ends. So focus on that. Focus on the moment, nothing beyond it.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed.
Yeah.
That's right, indeed. Kelly's got the jewelry store ready today, y'all, with these gems, y'all. I'm telling you. That's right, indeed.
And and even with books, since you talk about books on this show, when it's an informational book, and honestly, even fiction and memoirs, readers want something for right now. Now, it's not that your book can't go beyond the right now, but we need gems in the book that will hit people in this moment. Otherwise, and like philosophy books are awesome, but they have gems too that hit people now and make them go, wow, you know, they stimulate thought and creative ideas in the moment. And that's what people remember. That's what the readers remember and make them recommend books to other people, what they get out of it in this moment. So we really need to make sure that we include those types of things in our books when we're writing. Would you agree with that, fellow author?
Oh, yes, ma'am, I do. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Because they're so right. Because the thing is, it's like, yep, folks really want their fix now. Whether it's like, hey,
Yes.
information book to fix their problems, because it's like, hey, what you do is helping women podcasters to really jump more into the space and really get more business out of it. Because hey, want to shorten some wonderful turnaround times, and you want your long road to be their shortcut because you got a
Yes.
lot of shortcuts for 'em.
Yes. Yeah. So, like in my book, The Podcast Launchpad, I'm not talking about what to do, a year down the road after you've launched your podcast and you've been doing it for 52 episodes, if you're doing it once a week. I'm talking about what to do right now. So, step by step, here you are on day one of thinking about your podcast, what to do. And now you're in the next chapter, finishing, having done everything in the first. Now, what do you do? So it's very in the moment, because that's how you get through in launching a podcast. I don't have a chapter on, okay, a year from now, come back to this book in a year. They're not going to do that. Maybe I'll get to the point of writing that book called A Year After Podcasting. I don't know. Needs a better title than that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
That's a
it's
whole
true.
different book.
Yeah, it's true. But hey, the good news is it's probably going to be part of a series. So do you think there might be a follow-up book, a part two, since you got the first part of launching the podcast out the way?
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Can think about doing that soon.
So I'm talking about, indeed. So my goodness, so since you're a prolific writer, any advice for those dealing with writer's block or possibly imposter syndrome, or heck, maybe there was a setback or a big old block in your way that was neither?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Imposter syndrome first. If you are thinking about writing a book, if you think you have anything at all to write about, do it. I love Nike's Just Do It. You have something to say. And yes, there are people who will want to read your book. Don't hold back. When you have that idea for a book and you don't write it, you are keeping it from the world. You are keeping it from the people who want to read it and who could benefit from it. That's not nice. That's mean to keep it from people. There is valuable information there, or if it's a fiction book, then I mean, that's a benefit. It's entertainment, it's stimulating their thought, and don't hold it back. It's really beneficial to people to have these wonderful new books. Writer's block. So I haven't written fiction, so it's hard for me to give suggestions on that. But with informational books, how I've done mine, or especially the podcast launch playbook, is I wrote out all the questions that I could think of that people would have about launching a podcast. That's how I framed my book, is in the framework of questions. And if you can't come up with enough questions, go ahead and use ChatGPT to help you with the questions. You can type in, what are the common questions people have about blah, blah, blah? Because you don't know all the questions that your audience may have. So you can get help that way. Or ask your audience. Ask if you already have an audience, if you're, already a coach or consultant, then ask people on your email list, ask your clients, what questions do you have about blah, blah, blah. Collect all of those and use that to help frame your book. Questions are just excellent. And they fall in a natural order, in a natural progression. So I love questions. They really helped me put my book in a great order and then help me write faster instead of sitting there thinking, what order am I going to do this in? Blah, blah, blah. Like boom, boom, boom. There are my questions. So the writing came really quickly after that.
Ah, me likey. That's what I'm talking about indeed. And I definitely love questions too, because they require you to think and they require you to respond. So, my
Yes.
goodness, has there been any question, heck, it could be life, business, or anything that really helped you to advance to your next level in life or get out of a rut?
Oh my goodness. Sometimes when I'm stuck with something, I may ask myself, what would Jesus do? And not necessarily Jesus, but you replace it with someone else, someone whom you admire. So you can pick like a business role model, someone really famous who has gone through what you've gone through and who's in a position you aspire to be in. So I know a lot of people pick like Oprah, or Richard Branson. And I'm sure, there are other people today, or, Amy Porterfield, Marie Forleo, or, whomever you admire, and just say, what would so and so do? And it doesn't have to be someone that huge, anyone who's just a few steps ahead of you. And then imagine what they would go through. And you're so right. I mean, that's a great question, Dom, because instead of sitting there trying to figure out what to do next, and yes, we can Google, but framing it as a question is so powerful because, like you said, it gets the gears in our head working, and questions really help us solve problems better than just sitting there going, what should I do next? That's not a powerful question. Like in the coaching world, not a powerful question at all. When I was a life and business coach, I would never ask that question of a client. I would ask something like, so who's a role model? Then what would they do in this situation? Or what advice would they give you? And it's essentially the same question as what should you do next, but it's framed differently. And so it puts you in the mindset of that person you admire. And so it gets you thinking at a higher level instead of from the stuck level where you are down here. You're thinking from up here, looking from a bird's eye view.
Ah, there we go. That's right. Look like a hawk or a falcon. Don't look like a pigeon. That's right, indeed. If you do.
Exactly. Love that. Yes.
That's right,
Perfect.
indeed.
Always take the hawk's eye view. Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's right, indeed. That's right. Stronger, better, more prolific birds. That's right, indeed. Pigeons.
Yes.
Not a fan of
Yeah.
those for certain
Yep.
reasons.
Yep. I mean, think about, the pigeon walking and its head bounces out and back, and the hawks sit up the top of a tree and they're very still and they look around and they see much better. They have some of the best sight of all animals and certainly much better than people. And then they'll fly up really high and circle and look closely and see something and then decide to come back down and sit at the top of a tree and look again and pay attention and then swoop down and get their prey because they found it. They solved the problem. So yeah, take that Hawkeye view.
I just love how eloquent she just put that together, y'all. I'm telling you, it's just like, bro, like right there, got the prey. It's right with all the freaking eyes, just seeing it from a distance. And funny enough, you've done that for yourself because you got all this wonderful wisdom that you've acquired over the years. And now you got this mastermind coming up for women entrepreneurs with podcasts already to advance to their next level. So, what lets that decision where you finally had that ox eye view and you're taking action on it to help others advance?
Yes, yes. Looking forward to doing that. I am working on putting together that mastermind right now, and it will be launching in a few months. So, yeah, it's going to be great helping women entrepreneurs, like you said, who already have a podcast and want help to use their podcast as a marketing tool to get more clients and make money. Getting sponsors and ads, not the best way to monetize your podcast. Really, the best way is to use your podcast to sell listeners into your services when you're an entrepreneur. That you have the most control over. You want to get clients into your services anyway. And that's why you started a podcast, not as a hobby, not just to give away free information. It is hard to get sponsors unless you are pretty big. And why run ads for other people that might go against the integrity of your show? So run ads for your own services. That's the best and the easiest. You're in total control. You're not beholden to anyone else, and you get 100% of the benefit. You're not driving people away from your show or your website. You want people to come back to your website, get on your email list, check out your services, and hire you or join your mastermind or your group programs. So that's what this mastermind is going to help people with.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. And you're so right, indeed, about really just using a podcast to sell your services. Because the thing is, you're so right. Like, ad revenue, like if you have a big enough audience, okay, cool. But it's like acquiring them and staying on top of it. And then just start figuring out, okay, which tier packaging you're going to create and which one they're actually going to accept. And then if it doesn't perform well, it doesn't resonate enough with your fan base or your listener base where they're like, I think we're good, then well, back to
Right.
square one.
Right, right. And in the case of authors, you're using your podcast to build your fan base and sell more books and get them interested in buying your next book, right? So it's a very powerful way to do that.
Heck yeah, indeed. Heck yeah, indeed. So my goodness, my goodness. So since you've been on both sides of the microphone for years on end, you basically got your Buddhist monk status with the orange robe but no shaved head, obviously, because you want to stay fucking fabulous.
She doesn't have a shaved head, but I have always loved Annie Lennox's hair, the buzz and super short. Oh my gosh, I've thought about trying that, but I haven't had the guts. So, yeah. Anyway.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you indeed. So, is there a question that you wish folks would ask you more often when you're on the guest side of the microphone?
I love that you asked me about my art. Pretty much no one asks about that. So that's cool. And how does it relate to podcasting? Like, I think that's probably why nobody asks about it, the art and film work. So, being an editor on films, I was recently the assistant editor on a documentary feature film. So, of course, the editing, I still do most of my own editing on my podcast, and we share editing duties at Geek Girl Soup. So obviously, that helps being able to know how to edit. And I did all my own editing on my short films as an artist over the years. But just being an artist is obviously a creative pursuit.
Mm.
And I find podcasting very creative, even though Podcast Launchpad is an informational, like educational podcast. It's not dull. I'm not just sharing the information in a monotone or boring way. So for me, creating that content for the podcast is a creative pursuit. And so it helps that I have that very creative side from being an artist and actually creating the content for the podcast. And then I don't do all of my social media assets. I outsource half of it and then do the other half myself. But so even creating those is a creative pursuit. So I find all of that easier since I've got that artist side of me, and doing the podcast fulfills that creative itch, so I'm not always itching to like go paint. This fulfills that as well.
Oh yeah, heck yeah, it's true. Definitely true indeed. Because it's like sure, yeah, you gotta have a separate room and everything. I'm sure you got a separate area for all your painting and all your creativity to explore that part of yourself.
Yes.
And you're right. It's like, hey, we're all human here. We're gonna have different interests and probably have different obligations. Where it's like, I ain't got time to freaking finish the painting on this canvas. It's like, I don't even know what I'm really painting yet.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Now, when I paint, they're abstract and I tend to do them in one go. So I set aside the day. I paint in my garage right now. And yeah, so I set aside the day and I play music to get specific music to get into the mood. I mean, and the music will change. It's like, okay, what kind of mood do I want this painting to be? What music reflects that mood? I pick one song and I put it
Oh,
on constant repeat and lay out the canvas, get an idea of what I want it to be, start painting, and it becomes what it becomes, like you said. So I do not necessarily, sometimes I have a clear vision. Most of the time, it's a feeling. And then the feeling comes out through my mood and the music. And then when I'm done, I have to switch the music to get myself out of that mood and back into like neutral, just north of neutral. Yeah. So
oh
it's
wow.
fun process. Yeah. Years
Oh,
ago, I didn't know how to get myself out of the mood, and I would paint very down in a down,
oh,
dark mood. And it would take me a few days to come out of it. It's like,
mm.
this is not tenable. This, I cannot do this because, to spend like 3 days in a down mood. And then actually I would take advantage of that and just paint for days on end and still take several days to come out of it. So it's like, the whole week And then it's like I'd be out of it and then, okay, time to paint again. And so when was I ever out of it? It was terrible. It was just terrible. So now I can manage all of that much better. Self-care. Self-care is important for podcasting and writing too. Very important. Otherwise you are going to burn out in everything. Self-care, take time. Yes, it doesn't mean you have to get a massage. I love music to, again, get me out of whatever mood I'm in, to come back to neutral, to refocus. So do whatever works for you. It doesn't have to cost you any money to take care of yourself. That's my PSA tip for the day.
Hey, fully received and fully appreciated indeed. 'Cause, yeah, so true indeed. And that's the beautiful thing about creative folks, because the thing is, it always applies in one way or another to different fields. Because, hey, if you're in that dark mood all the time, it's like, oh, yeah, I get to be productive and keep on getting these paintings out there and crank them out. But it's like, oh, I have to be in this mood to keep painting and I have to meet a
Right.
certain deadline. And it's like, oh, well, I guess I'll just be under the mushroom forever.
Right. Right. It just doesn't work. You do not have to be depressed or, a crazy artist or whatever. You can bring yourself out of it, and writing as well. So could bring yourself back out faster. You can learn how to do it. I did, which was amazing. I didn't think I would ever be able to learn how to do it. So yeah, it's tough.
No wonder you had to write a positive book about making someone's moment.
Yes. Yes. Be like, can someone help make my moment to bring me out of this? Yep.
But hey, it's all good. The good news is, another beautiful thing about all the stuff that you do. One of my favorite one-liners from the book is, connect your actions to your passions, and you've done just that, and you've made a bigger, better business out of it indeed. So that's something to be commended for.
Thank you. I forgot about that line. Thank you for reminding me of that. Oh my goodness. I need to write that down again. It's been a while since I thought about that. Thank you. Connect your actions to your passions. That's exactly right. Exactly right.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, speaking of books, you got this wonderful podcast launch playbook indeed. So, if that book were a food, what would it be and why?
Woo. First thing that just came to mind was like spicy salsa. I don't know why that popped into mind, because it like perks you up, gets your senses all activated, and can get you moving. It's not a comfort food. Definitely not. Because comfort food like gets you settled in and all cozy. Podcast launch
Mm,
playbook is not going to make you cozy. It's intended to make you take action right now. And I don't love energy drinks. I guess it could be an energy drink, but I don't love them. So, and I do love salsa. Tex-Mex food is the best. I'm originally from Houston, so yeah. So yeah, salsa.
oh, wow. All right. So, good old H Town girl. You'll love to see it.
Yep.
That's right, indeed. That's right,
Yep.
indeed. I'm surprised it's still up north then.
Oh my gosh, I was just down. I was there in over Christmas and just back a few days ago for a high school reunion. And I've decided to move back. I'm about to put my house on the market
Oh,
and
wow.
move back
Okay.
hopefully this summer. Yeah. Want to be with my mom and, before she gets too old,
Ah,
and high school friends, business school friends. So my family. So yeah, my son and I are going to move back. Looking forward to
oh,
it. Don't want to leave my friends up here, but still have a bunch down there. So it'll be good.
oh. Well, she's going south, y'all.
Oh gosh. Oh, too funny. Oh. Leaving north, going south. Yes. Oh my goodness. That is too funny.
Oh yeah. It's like the running joke. It's like, oh, he's always talking about north. Oh God, if he talks about going south, make a run for it. Run to the bomb shelter. It's like, oh wait, oh, he's just Talking about, I guess, just moving back home down south,
Right.
where we're safe.
You are fast on your feet. Oh my goodness. That was awesome. Yeah. Hopefully not everything will go south, just me physically. It's the only thing I want going south. Nothing else. Just me physically. And not physically, medically. Just pick me and my stuff up and my son and physically move us south, and then everything will stay good or even get better. How about that? Let's be very specific. God and the universe need specificity when we put in requests and prayers, right? We can't just say, take me south. No, then they'll be like, here goes your health, here goes your money, here go your relationships. No, no, that's not what I meant, Lord.
uh,
uh, I just want to move south to Houston, this specific place, and let everything improve. Oh my gosh.
I had a feeling I liked you for a reason. Kind of reminds me of that meme where, I'm sure you heard the phrase Jesus take the wheel, where there's this
Yes.
meme where the wheel goes off a person's car and the guy's like, no, Jesus, not that wheel.
That's great. Yes, we have to be specific. Too many times. It's like I haven't given enough specificity. Like, that is not what I meant. Oh my Lord. So now, like, I lay things out and it's like this or better, right? Yeah, because maybe what we're requesting isn't in our highest good, right? We don't
Hmm.
know. We don't know. So I'll say, here's my request. This is what I'm thinking, or something better. Yeah. But please, not bad, not worse than this, please. Oh my gosh.
That's right, indeed. A tip you
Yeah.
probably didn't think you were getting today, folks. That's right, indeed. Got to be specific when you're asking for what you want. That's right, indeed.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's right, indeed. They say closed mouths don't get fed, and when you open your mouth, make sure it's for the stuff you need. You don't want to be the little baby with the bib with the food everywhere, with the pouty face, because you kept your
Yes.
mouth closed.
Yeah, very true. Or have the food thrown at you. You know, give me this stuff. It's like, bam, and like you can't pick it up. You can't put it in your mouth. You can't put the money in your wallet and or your bank. So yeah, we do have to be specific. Like I pick up coins on the street, even if it's a penny, because it's like the universe just gave me that. If I turn down that penny, then that's saying, no, I don't need that. That's too little. And what message is that giving? It's saying, no, thank you. So I figure if I take that penny, then I'm saying I am open to any amount of money that you're willing to help me with. So bring it on.
Heck yeah, indeed. It's like, hey, I see a penny for your thoughts. Well, I'll take a million pennies for a
Yes,
million thoughts.
because I've got a million thoughts. So got a few million thoughts. Love to get paid for them. Yes, please.
Heck yeah, indeed. That's right, indeed. So, my goodness, coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And that is, if you were to wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but you're still in the current year, what advice would you give to yourself?
Woo. Don't be so hard on yourself. I think that's the biggest piece of advice. I wouldn't go back and change anything. Like I had my first kid when I was 25. So I can't go back and change anything, even though I have thought over the years about what would I change. And there are moments in my life where I've thought, oh, I would definitely change that. But you change one thing and it changes everything. So I'd be like, you're going to do what you're going to do. and don't beat yourself up.
There you go. That's right, folks. That's right indeed. Don't beat yourself up. That's right indeed. Name of the game, you don't want to look like a banana after a couple of days, y'all. That's right
Yes.
indeed.
Yes. Hurry up and eat that banana before it gets all bruised. Maybe that's it. Yeah. Eat it
That's right
while it's
indeed.
ripe and not bruised. Yeah.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Before you end up in the banana boxing championship. That's right indeed.
Yes. Yes.
That's right. The secret fights they get into at night every day. Let me stop.
Yeah. Love it. My mind is wandering to make all these metaphors out of the banana. Yeah. Because who ends up making banana bread out of bruised bananas? We all say we're going to. Like, oh, I'm not going to eat that thing. It's too bruised. It's too mushy. I'll make banana bread. And then they don't. And then the whole bunch gets thrown away, right? So just eat the thing, before it turns into mush. So I love that. I'm just like, in life, eat the banana, try to prevent your life from getting all bruised up. But if it does, then don't beat yourself up about it. I like that. It's not profound. It's weird, but I'm weird. I can be dippy at times, so I'm going with it. I'm sticking with my weird banana metaphor. Oh my gosh.
Hey, well, it's true. It's true indeed. Ain't nothing wrong with being weird. Weird people
Yeah.
make the world go round.
Yes. This is true.
That's right indeed. And hey, it's a dang good metaphor. It's like, hey, if you end up bruised anyway, find a way to finally be part of the 1% and turn your bruised bananas into that bread indeed after all.
Yes. There you go. Yes. I like banana bread more than I like lemonade. And they say when life throws you lemons, make lemonade. I adore banana bread. And then you throw chocolate chips in with it. Oh my God, that's the best. So there you go.
Sounds like we're baking the next idea for your book.
Yep. Sounds good. You've given me a bunch of ideas for today.
Well, life gives you lemons, make banana bread.
That's a great title for her. Oh my gosh. Love it.
It'll be a commemorative book to celebrate her going back to H-Town for home.
That is really excellent. I love that as a title for a book. Oh my gosh. That would sell. People at least would pick it up and be like, WTF? This is so weird. I gotta know what this is about. Oh my gosh. So good. Well, you have totally made my moment being on your show today. This has been so much fun.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about indeed. That's right indeed. I'm glad the moment making is mutual.
Awesome. Thank you.
So for those who need to have more moments made for them and heck even help them to create multiple memorable moments through their podcast they're going to launch, what's the best way folks to keep up with you and what you're doing, Kelly?
You can visit my website at angelakellysmith.com and you can go to /discover if you want to set up a call with me to talk about how a podcast can help you promote your book or promote your business. So angelakellysmith.com /discover.
Woohoo! And she does take a Discover card, y'all. That's right.
That call is free. But yes, if you want to work with me, then yeah, I take all the cards. Very true.
Yep.
I will take them all.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed. It's good old Christopher Columbus I discovered today, but in a good way. Nice.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. No, I don't call it Columbus Day. anymore. Yeah, I think a lot of us don't, do we?
Nope.
Oh, goodness. You kind of steer clear of the people who do still call it Columbus Day. It's, what? No, not good.
Yeah, that's right indeed. The only Columbus Day that matters is when you're in Columbus, Ohio.
Yes. Yes. True. Yeah. That I would accept. The founding of Columbus, Ohio Day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever that was, I have no idea.
I guess we'll have to have Google help us discover it later.
Right. Look at you. Oh, that's great.
Well, before any more rabbit holes appear that we'll jump into, any parting words before we close up shop?
If you do not have your own podcast, I highly recommend it. It will thrill your readers to get to know you better, to get a behind the scenes look at your book or books. It is a great way to engage your readers, stay in touch with them, build buzz for your next book or books. I love it. I know you love it, Dom. It has been great for you and building relationships with other authors. So I highly recommend it. And it is doable. It's totally doable to start your own podcast.
Thanks a bunch for investing your time by listening to this wonderful podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you really did, do me a solid and leave a review or share this episode with at least 3 people that you think would get some value out of today's content. Advance others to advance yourself.